edition of our show. It has always, we're glad you could always join us. This is Political Spectrum coming to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. And I remain your host, Onumese Ehinoma Olusegun. Now, first on President Tinubu's administration's calendar, today is November 28, Tuesday, 2023, and it marks exactly 85 days of President Bola Tinubu in office as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, this is now exactly 6 months and 3 days as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. All right, we kick off first. We already have the knowledge that Tinubu presents the budget today, Wednesday. The Federal Executive Council also okays $1 billion loan. Now, President Bola Tinubu will be on Wednesday today, if it hasn't even started, present the 2024 appropriation bill to a joint session of the National Assembly. This came as the Federal Executive Council on Monday approved the 2024 appropriation bill of 27.5 trillion. This is an increase from the 26 trillion earlier considered by the council. Now, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, disclosed the approval to State House correspondents after the close of the FEC weekly meeting presided over by Tinubu at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. Now, while disclosing that the federal government is projecting 18 trillion revenue for the 2024 fiscal year, Bagudu said further details of the appropriation will be released when the president presents it at a joint session of the National Assembly on Wednesday. Now, the minister said the federal government was contemplating other economic measures in the short term, adding that the Tax Reforms Council report was well received by the president and other council members. I quote, "The bill has an aggregate expenditure of 27.5 trillion, which is an increase of over 1.5 trillion from the previously estimated using the old reference prices," he added. The forecast revenue is now 18.32 trillion, which is higher than the 2023 revenues, including that provided in 2 supplementary budgets. Equally and commendably, the deficit is lower than that of 2023. Details of the renewed hope budget will be announced by Mr. President when he makes the presentation to the National Assembly. Now, the minister also announced some changes made in the medium-term expenditure framework benchmarks by the Federal Executive Council. Now, the approved medium-term expenditure framework has the exchange rate of 700 to $1, and equally the benchmark crude oil price of $73.96 and 96 cents. However, in Mr. President's determination to find more money to fund our priorities, today, the Federal Executive Council further revised the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal policy framework. And 2 of the important decisions were to use an exchange rate of 750 to $1 and also a benchmark crude oil reference price of $77.96, meaning $4 more than the earlier approval he had noted. Now, talking about the $1 billion budget loan, briefing the Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister of the Economy was seen briefing a guest and said that the council approved $1 billion budget support loan from the African Development Bank, the AFDB loan, which have an interest rate of 4.2% for 25 years with an 8-year moratorium. According to the minister, he said the Federal Executive Council approves a $1 billion concessionary loan for general budget support and to be used to improve forex availability in the country. Now, he continues, and I quote, $1 billion loan from AFDB is a budget support fund for ongoing economic reforms. It is to support government programs in the power sector, social inclusion, and the fiscal policy reforms as a whole sector policy initiative, end of quote. In October, Edun disclosed that the federal government secured an $80 million loan from AFDB to finance various projects in critical sectors of the economy. He noted at the time that the $80 million was to help young people in the knowledge economy, technology, and communications. The finance minister also spoke on the tax initiatives of the federal government. Edu says, and I quote, there was a briefing by the Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee. Essentially, they've been working for roughly 90 days. They've been working very well and very effectively, such that they are in a position to have and impacted the economy by coming up with initial reforms as well as signposting the way forward in terms of very important targets. All right, still on the issue of the budget, National Assembly assures Nigerians. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, also confirmed Tinubu will present the 2024 appropriation bill before a joint session of the National Assembly. Meanwhile, a member of the House of Representatives, Ede South, Ede North, Ejigbo Federal Constituency in Osun State, on the platform of the PDP, Oluwole Oke, has allayed fears of possible difficulty in implementing the January-December budget cycle. Oke, who chairs the House Committee on Judiciary, said the delay in the presentation of the budget might not be unconnected with the need for thorough job by Mr. President and his team. Speaking to the newsman, the lawmaker said, and I quote, Mr. President and his economic team are assembled and they are professionals, and I'm sure they want to do a thorough job. More so, they are just coming on board. I think we should give him benefit of the doubt. The Parliament is also ready to give the budget accelerated consideration and passage in the interest of Nigerians. Now, similarly, the member representing Ezeagu Udi Federal Constituency of Enugu State on the platform of the Labour Party, Sunday Ume, has said the supposed delay might turn out to be a blessing for the benefit of Nigerians. So the question is, are we still following the January to December budget window, or are we reverting back to the old that Buhari turned it during this administration? All right, let us also quickly tell you that Tinubu has reappointed Mele Kyari as NNPCL Group Chief Executive Officer. Also appoints Akinyelure as Board Chairman. Now, in compliance of Section 59(2) of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of a new board and management team for the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, with effect from December. I don't know whether my producer is ready. You can show us the slide. Chief Pius Akinyelure is a non-executive board chairman. Then Malam Mele Kolo Kyari is the group chief executive officer. Alhaji Umar Isa Ajia, chief financial officer. Mr. Ledu Mighty, non-executive director. Mr. Musa Tumsa, non-executive director. Mr. Ghali Muhammad, non-executive director. Professor Mustafa Aliyu, non-executive director. Mr. David Ogbodo, non-executive director. Miss Eunice Thomas, executive director. Now, furthermore, President Tinubu approved the appointment of 2 permanent secretaries. Mr. Okokon Ekanem Udo, permanent secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance. Ambassador Gabriel Aduda, permanent secretary, Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Now, Mr. Tinubu anticipates the fullest measure of compliance with the performance-driven and result-oriented mandate of his renewed hope administration in the implementation of energy policy that will monetize all available oil and gas resources of today, while paving the way for the total exploitation of new and cleaner energy sources of tomorrow by this distinguished team. Now, the statement was clearly signed by Chief Ajirin Gilale, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, dated November 27, 2023. And all we need to say is congratulations to that team. We hope they move our economy forward, because the petroleum sector is a very, very, very intricate and very, very important and critical aspect of our nation's economy, because it is over 80 or 75% of the nation's GDP. All right, we'll take a short break, then we'll be right back on the issue of Wike and the CEO and the certificate of occupancy in Abuja. Let's take a short break, we'll be right back.
allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my Lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this
Lord.
an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding you, Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
All right, welcome back. Moving on the show, let me start with a very significant quote. Abuja C of O now requires NIN, BVN, and existing landlords must recertify. This statement is credited to the executive in town. That's the Federal Capital Territory Minister, Chief Nyesom Wike. Now, the Federal Capital Territory Minister, Wike says obtaining a certificate of occupancy, also known as C of O, in Abuja will now require a national identification number and bank verification number. Speaking to journalists in Abuja on Friday, Wike also noted that existing landowners in the capital must get recertification to incorporate these new features. Now, according to the minister, he has been refraining from signing C of O during his tenure as the FCT minister to introduce enhanced security measures such as the inclusion of NIN for individuals and BVN for corporate bodies. He says, and I quote, "There are a lot of discrepancies, a lot of cloning of C of O's. So we have come with an idea that every allottee who seeks and applies for C of O must supply his NIN. This is one of the features we're going to put in the new C of O, he said. He continues, and I quote, if a corporate body doesn't have an NIN and they have a property, they must put their BVN. So many persons have not registered, and this will make them go and re-register. Addressing the issue of the existing landlords with C of O's, Wike stated that they would only be required to pay a nominal fee for recertification. Now, for everyone who has a C of O, they will come for a recertification so that we can incorporate the NIN or BVN, he said. Those who had a C of O before don't need to pay money again. The highest they can pay is 50,000 naira, and corporate bodies will pay 100,000 naira. It helps in terms of security. It also helps to improve our revenue generation. There are people who own several properties, so this will identify them as they can pay taxes. He also addressed the proposed 5 million fee for C of O from the annual ground rent, explaining that the fee is based on land ownership rather than the structure built on it. All right, let's take a look at the video briefly, then we'll continue.
One thing I don't like is impunity. And I'll use the Director of Regional Planning to show I'm not one of those you can think you act anyhow and go free. Nobody does that. Respect is what? Reciprocal. If you think it is easy, don't be angry, don't worry. Anger will solve the problem. It's not a front face. It will not help. I can sit in my office and take a decision. Nobody will kill me. It's either you have it or you don't have it. But in every decision we like to take, we give it a human face. So you understand why government intends to take such decisions. It's not as if we are bound. It's not as if we are bound. I'm trying to see how we resolve crisis that has bedeviled the FCT for years. Crisis of land grabbing, crisis of land swap, crisis of issuance of certificate of occupancy. So it's like land in Abuja is our own oil. Everybody, one way or the other, wants land in Abuja. Agreements have been reached between the FCT and so many people fraudulently. We are looking into all those things. Allocation of land to 3, 4, 5 persons. We are looking into all those things. And in doing this, most people may not be happy because you will take decisions that will be very, very tough. You've never had this opportunity before, at least in the last 8 years, to interact with your minister. Have you had an opportunity before? So you must applaud us of giving you that opportunity for the first time. So many people have applied to government to be given contracts to run the issuance of certificate of occupancy for mass housing. Some even went to the far to the extent of getting the contract from the Federal Executive Council. And I said, why would I give contract for people to get CFOs? Why would I do that? and then they collect whatever they will collect. When I'm the one signing the CFO, and I have capacity.
So I guess you can smell it. It's a new sheriff in town. And a lot of people have said that these are moves, though benign, though a novel, but they say a lot of people have criticized that these are moves to shake some of his major oppositions, especially within the PDP. We don't hold any opinion here. You be the judge. All right, moving on. He also talked about CFO, saying the CFO is not based on the building, but the land. Now, the only difference, according to him, is the annual ground rent. The one with a 2-bedroom property cannot pay the same as the person with a 3-bedroom property, he had said. All right, aside that press briefing, he also granted an interview to some very notable journalists. We also have that video credit to Channels Television and Africa Independent Television, where certain questions were asked, and he was very stern and very unambiguous in responding to them. Take a listen.
A charge of 5 million. Thank you very much. And that is why sometimes it's very important to have this chat in order to educate the public. The FCT administration never insisted that there will be a charge of 5 million naira per CFO. What happened was that before I came on board, there was this contract awarded by the Federal Executive Council for certain people to, on behalf of the FCT, to collect CFOs for mass housing. And when I came on board, I said, I don't understand how this kind of contracts could be awarded. We have a lot of issues pertaining to the developers of those mass housing. And so many people who bought houses have been clamoring for security of their property, and for commercial purposes, they need to have the CFO of the property they bought. And it means that the developer have only one CFO for, say, in an estate that has over 500 houses. And how could that be? So I said, look, the FCT on its own can collect on this, can collect by itself. Again, there are people who had land or who allocated land in the area councils. And you know that by the FCT Act, all land belongs to the FCT. No area council has power to allocate land to you and issue you any CFO. And in order to remedy some of these anomalies, we set up a task force to say, listen, we don't want to go back to cause some problems for those that were allocated land and given certificates by the area council, and then for the mass houses. And so the task force came up that, look, because of what we are trying to introduce now, which we have gotten the verbal approval of Mr. President, we're just merely waiting for the official, that there have been a lot of discrepancies, a lot of cloning of CFOs. And so we have come up with an idea that every allottee who seeks for CFO, who applies for CFO, that must supply his NIN number, that's national identity number. That will also help in terms of security checks. And so all we need in this property, after all, so many people can answer the same name, So somebody can answer. You can't say you're the only one who was somebody can answer Frank Amadi, for example. Another person can answer Frank Amadi, for example. So in the system, you can say Frank Amadi. Which of the Frank Amadi? But with the NIN number, those two persons can have one NIN number. So everybody has a NIN number. And so this is one of the features we are going to put in the new CFO. 2, if it's a corporate bodies don't go with NIN number. So each corporate body, if you have a property, you must put a BVN. Right? Now, even in this case of introducing this NIN in the CFO, so many people are not even registered. So that also makes them to go and register. Now, but these are features that will be incorporated so that everybody that has had CFO will come back for recertification so that we'll incorporate this NIN number. Thank you very much. And that is why sometimes it's very important to have this chat in order to educate the public. The FCT administration never insisted that there will be a charge of 5 million naira per CFO. What happened was that before I came on board, there was this contract awarded by the Federal Executive Council for certain people to, on behalf of the FCT, to collect CFOs for mass housing. And when I came on board, I said, I don't understand how this kind of contracts could be awarded. We have a lot of issues pertaining to the developers of those mass housing. And so many people who bought houses have been clamoring for security of their property, and for commercial purposes, they need to have the CFO of the property they bought. And it means that the developer have only one CFO for, say, in an estate that has over 500 houses. And how could that be? So I said, look, the FCT on its own can collect on this behalf, can collect by itself. Again, there are people who had land or who allocated land in the area councils. And you know that by the FCT Act, all land belongs to the FCT. No area council has power to allocate land to you and issue you any CFO. And in order to remedy some of these anomalies, we set up a task force to say, listen, we don't want to go back to cause some problems for those that were allocated land and given certificate by the area council, and then for the mass houses. And so the task force came up that, look, because of what we are trying to introduce now, which we have gotten the verbal approval of Mr. President, we're just merely waiting for the official, that there have been a lot of discrepancies, a lot of cloning of CFOs. And so we have come up.
All right, there you have heard it. You heard it from the chief landlord of the Federal Capital Territory. Clear, unambiguous, and categorical on the processes with which you are going to be enjoying annual ground rent and your land as well as your property. So if you are by any chance resident in Abuja, you better start abiding by the new executive orders of the FCT minister. All right, still on Wike, but let's come to Rivers now, because our conversations will continue from yesterday's edition to today. We have a very important person who will be joining us from Port Harcourt to give us the whole scenario, the political scenario at play in Rivers. Talking about Wike versus Fubara. Now, let's begin to make the narrative clearer. Now, a lot has been said in the media parley. The FCT Minister, Chief Wike, of course, you saw the video when he granted, I think sometime around yesterday or 2 days ago, where he alleged a lot of things about his successor, Governor Fubara, happening in the Rivers politics of Rivers State and the issues surrounding the crisis in the state. A lot of observers have avidly followed and had an experiential experience of the events in this state since time immemorial, irrespective of the silence of our people for the fear of the uncertainty of the future. Even in our silence, according to them, they know the truth when they hear it, and they know their history. Now, some say that Governor Fubara is too loyal, calm, and very humble to even think of fighting anybody. They claim that Wike even affirmed that in his media parley that he stated that Sir Sim was his best bet because the other aspirants would not have been able to tolerate him for just 2 weeks, according to his statement. Now, a man who wanted to destroy any structure would not have proposed to resign as governor instead of fighting Governor Sim, whom we all know he never been desperate for power, because we all know how he emerged. Now, if not for the public humiliation-laden impeachment ambush against his reputation, he still would have carried on quietly as the very humble person that he is and hoped that the issues would be resolved internally in Rivers State. Now, we heard in a recorded conversation where a local government chairman was heard violently threatening another that he and Governor Fubara should get prepared for war because he is coming for them, and the governor, who was being accused of fighting the structure, has not responded or taken any action against the chairman. Such cannot happen during the 8 years of our dear leader Wike, someone just said. Now, when chairmen were suspended and their allocations deliberately delayed as punishment, if Fubara was fighting as many people had expected him to, the man would have since dissolved his cabinet and relieved a lot of people from their duties. But alas, that is not the case, which was the common practice during the administration of our leader, Wike. Now, amidst the disrespect from even his cabinet members by some very powerful commissioners and chairmen, Governor Fubara has remained calm, respectful in words, and humble. Such tolerance, restraint, and humility should be studied. This is what those struggling to be governor through impeachment will never endure. Now, one clear take-home in all of this is that we have examined and x-rayed Governor Sim, and do we say we have found him guilty or not guilty? But as usual, the system will always come up with a reason to lead Rivers people into a needless battle. Thus, the allegation of destroying the structure. How can a man who practically inherited all political office holders of the former administration be accused of such a charge? Many have argued, and validly so. Now, let's go into the real issues. He, Fubara, is destroying our structure. I've asked him to maintain the structure that brought him. That statement is credited to Wike. But in reaction, as a people, we can choose to feign ignorance, but the truth is that Governor Sim, in the beginning of his government, was even called a puppet and a weakling because he practically inherited the working team of his Oga, from the personal boy of our leader to special assistant to commissioners to security, and even his chief of staff was provided for him. The elders that used to move with our leader are still the ones moving with the governor. Every appointment so far in this state, except for a few special assistants and the 2 commissioners from the local government of the governor, was processed directly by the structure. So how then has the structure been destroyed, which is yet to be made known to the public? I would want to dwell on the speculations for now, hence I won't want to dwell on the speculations for now, hence my question. Now let's move to the next one. I have respected President Tinubu by keeping calm, but Governor Sim has disrespected the president and vice president. That's another allegation from Wike. But in reaction, after the intervention of President Tinubu in the imbroglio of a failed mutiny attempt that bedeviled our state, it is Governor Sim who has carried himself more in a peaceful manner for the first time in the history of our state. The governor appeared in a state broadcast to apologize and even called the minor setback a father and son issue that definitely will be resolved. Now, the governor has never threatened anyone publicly. Rather, it is our leader, His Excellency Wike, who has threatened to cause more issues in the state which will cripple governance and development even with the presidential intervention. Now, let's take another complaint from Wike. 27 assembly members are against the governor. But in reality, that they are against the governor is no fault of Fubara, because even the members don't know why they are against him. They are only following orders as directed by the structure that purchased their forms, just as the governorship form was purchased for aspirants. Now, a lot of members who have dared to open up in private said they were coaxed into the decision because of their pending appeal judgment to date. Now, there is no public rationale as to why the failed impeachment attempt was enforced. He says, and I quote, "He is an ingrate and only ingrates will support him." That's another complaint from His Excellency Nyesom Wike. But in reality, for a man who was declared wanted by the EFCC because of you, that is Wike, yet his state lawyer went into hiding and took the shame, all because of the structure, then such a man cannot be said to be an ingrate. Everyone in life has one or more persons that have helped him or her to grow, and disagree with one who helped you to grow on some certain issues does not amount to betrayal or being an ingrate. We still remember the painstaking roles President Jonathan and his wife Mama Patience played in ensuring that another Ikwere son took over as governor of Rivers State from an Ikwere son who has served 8 years straight, talking about Rotimi Amechi. Even after the efforts of these Ijaw icons, we stopped seeing them in our state. We stopped issuing an official birthday wish to them as a state until recently, but this didn't stop our Ijaw brothers and sisters in Rivers State from supporting and standing in defense of our leader, Chief Wike. All right, we'll go on a short break. Thereafter, we'll be right back to have the conversations regarding the Wike versus Fubara. What is the situation in Rivers? Will it get better or will it get worse? Stay tuned. Join us again. All right, many thanks for staying tuned. Already waiting on the sides, joining us virtually from Port Harcourt is Comrade Solomon Lenu. Comrade Solomon Lenu is the Public Relations Officer and spokesperson, Rivers State Civil Society Organization, and is also a public affairs analyst. Mr. Solomon Lenu, good morning to you. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, very fine. Good morning. It's lovely being here.
All right. Nice to have you on the show. All right. Let me start from the beginning. How is Rivers State in terms of the crisis that almost stole the peace of Rivers? Starting from Port Harcourt, how can you describe Rivers State currently as we speak? You are there.
Well, thank you for asking this question and also trying to, put the situations, in Rivers State on the front burner. What is happening in Rivers State today obviously is not happening for the first time. In fact, we are only praying it doesn't become a vicious circle that comes, back around after a certain period of time, because we were here, in this same position in 2013 when the current minister now, was also at the epicenter of the storm between President Jonathan and the former governor, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi, as at then. Unfortunately, we haven't learned a lot, or will I say we didn't learn much from that situation, and that's the reason why we are where we are today. Although, I must say that while above every other thing at this moment is the development of Rivers State. What we desire the most at this moment is for the stability, political stability of Rivers State, so that we can also have an economic boost, which is what everybody. I just hope you're hearing me.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yeah.
Although it was distorted a little. Go on.
We don't wish to be, yes, we don't wish to be where we are, but unfortunately we are here. The situation in the state right now is one that keeps a lot of observers, a lot of, political followers in suspense of the unknown. Like you rightly pointed out, as we speak today, the case between Governor Fubara and the APC contestant in the previous election that just ended is coming up in the appeal court.
Wow.
And a lot of rumors has been going on. People have been speculating. Of course, it is very clear now all across the country how the current minister of the FCT wields a lot of influence within the judiciary. So people are of the opinion, will the minister use this his influence that he has, to upturn the victory of Governor Sim Fubara in the appeal court today? Or will Governor Sim Fubara be able to scale this hurdle and continue as the governor of Rivers State? A lot of permutations and a lot of speculations are going on as we speak. And what that does is that it does not allow the system to be stable, because a government that is battling, is having political quagmire from all fronts. You have a court case, and then you have an issue too with your principal who claimed to be the one who brought you and have done everything for you. Of course, such government will be distracted from carrying out the primary mandate for which they were elected. And these are some of the reasons why Rivers people, as it is today, are not happy with what is going on, because for us, there is no reason why we should be at this very precarious position where we are today.
All right.
Especially when the problem that we are having seems to be, stemming from the inordinate desire of one person, to take control of the soul of
Comrade Solomon. Comrade Solomon.
Yes.
I want to appreciate you for laying a very solid foundation. And I understand why you are passionate about the matter, because I know for civil society, it's all about development and, improvement of the welfare of the average indigene within rivers. I quite understand. But let's take it step by step. Yes. Now, I'll throw a second very straightforward question to you. And that is, now, this development, this crisis, this conundrum, this chaos in rivers has completely divided schools of thoughts in rivers into two parts. Those who are for Fubara and against Wike, and those who are for Wike and against Fubara. Now, let us see the most fair and unbiased perspective using some of the Wike's arguments. Now, if my producer is ready, the very, very first complaint from Wike is, I have respected President Tinubu by keeping calm, but Governor Sim has disrespected the president and the vice president. Now, a lot of people have said that this may not exactly be true, but you are on ground in rivers, Comrade Solomon. Respond to this.
Well, I have been talking on this issue, non-stop, because, of course, like you rightly pointed out, civil society, the responsibility of civil society is to ensure that the people who are at the helm of affairs does not, deviate from the rules, the grand rule, of governance and the rule of law. It's, also disturbs my own spirit, when leaders who are supposed to be those who should uphold the truth, turns out to be those who misrepresent situations, who tell lies publicly and openly, without regard. And I say this because for everybody who is here in Rivers State, they will see that Governor Fubara has been carrying on in such a way that inspires respect, inspires reverence, to not just his own office, but also to the office of the president, who intervened in this political crisis and asked both parties to maintain status quo. But the Minister of the FCT, on the other hand, immediately after that mediation from Mr. President, went straight to hold a press briefing and was boasting and bragging all how he can remove Governor Fubara if he chooses, and he won't be breaking any law because impeachment is not, a military coup and all whatnot.
Okay, well, he did it first.
There. Since this impasse began, former Governor Wike, had virtually relocated from Abuja to Rivers State, holding meetings upon meetings every day, restricting members of the cabinet of Governor Fubara from even attending functions with Fubara and going about with him. A thing that Wike would not take from anybody. In fact, he's on record where he went to a church. He broke protocols and went again the next day and was throwing tantrums everywhere. The person, to be honest and to be fair, as an unbiased analyst, it is very obvious and very clear to even the blind that the person who has been throwing tantrums, who has been causing issues even since this imbroglio started, is the Minister of the...
Okay, Comrade Solomon, in as much as I appreciate the perspective with which you are taking this, hello, Comrade Solomon, can you hear me?
The president.
Can you hear me, sir? Okay, in as much as...
The minister that has been violating it every second of the day and every time he has an opportunity to...
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so in as much as I know that you have a lot of wealth of knowledge on the issues happening and the intricacies, I want us to pattern it. The question I asked was, he accused Fubara of destroying a certain structure. Or was that... Okay, the first question I actually asked you was whether he was disrespecting Tinubu and his team when Tinubu told them to calm down. So from that light, how would you react to that? Was Fubara actually disrespecting Tinubu and his team?
Well, the instruction from Mr. President was not only to Fubara, it was both
to both
Fubara
parties. Yes.
And also to Wike.
Yes.
And I can tell you without mincing word, not for once had Fubara done anything that will not dignify the president or not be in tandem with the instruction that the president has given. In fact, when Fubara returned from Abuja to Port Harcourt, the first thing he said when he had the chat with the military people who came to visit him was that the issue between him and the minister is that between a father and a son.
Yes, he
went
so.
further to say that in fact that the reason for the problem is because many people have taken the little issues that have ensued out of context. That is decorum. That is respect for Mr. President. He had also gone out to another function and even told people that, look, this man remains my boss. He remains my oga. Until tomorrow, Governor Fubara had not in any way, at any point in time, used any language that denigrates the minister or disrespects the president by going against the instruction that he had given. But what has the minister been doing? Every day, minister has been holding one press briefing or other.
We have video evidences. Yes, we have video. We have video evidence.
So in this situation, who is actually disrespecting the president? Who has actually disobeyed the president with all that is going on in Rivers State today?
Okay, let's let Rivers people be the judge. Okay, to the next one, like I said, let's create a pattern. Now to the next one, he also accused Fubara of destroying, in quote, our structure. And I want to quote Wike, I have asked him to maintain the structure that brought him. Now the question is this the true reflection of things, you know, as it is in the polity in Rivers? Because a lot of people have also gone ahead to argue that the structure that brought Fubara was threatening to remove him. And he had to do something, anything humanly possible. So I want you to react to that. You are on ground in Rivers.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, comrade, go on. I want you to react to that. You are on ground in Rivers.
Okay. I want to answer that question with, you know, a little rhetorical question.
Feel free.
When you talk about structure, who are the structures? What is the structure?
Ideally, by democratic principles, structure are the people.
The structure that these people are talking, that Wike is talking about, is actually the people. You know, the politicians, their followers, and all of those, and the people that he had installed in various strategic places. But like from the excerpt that you read, the article that was written by one of us, Rivers' son, which you read while you were starting the program.
Yes.
You can see that everything that Wike put on ground was what Governor Fubara has been using to work. Everybody that Minister Wike gave to Governor Fubara is who Fubara had been working with until very recent when they plotted that coup against him. From his essays to the commissioners to the PAs to the security in the government house, everything, this governor did not lift his finger to remove one thing that was put in place. Many had come forward to even argue that what is causing the problem is the shit there, and some people hear this language, this structure, and all of this. The truth of the matter is that those are mere semantics. They try to cover the real issues that is bothering them. And it is imperative and important for Nigerians to know that, look, what is happening in Rivers State today is a solo war. It's just one individual fighting the state, even when the state is not responding to him, even when the state is not fighting him. And we must not encourage that, because the risk of what is happening in Rivers State is that if Mr. Wike succeeds with what he's doing here, it now becomes a precedent that other people in other parts of the country will borrow a leaf from to try to implement in their various environments. As is today, The same person who, when he was governor, advised Ambode to do away with the godfatherism in Lagos. The same person who advised Osaki in Edo State to do away with godfatherism and even, move his war chest from River State.
Okay. Okay, we might be having a little bit of some technical issue there, but his own opinion about the whole situation is very clear. And, we tried to pattern the whole conversation between Fubara and Wike. Of course, it's no longer news that the president himself and some very, very distinguished members of the PDP called them to a meeting to try to resolve the issues. And the last question we asked was, Wike actually accusing Fubara of destroying a structure that brought him into governance. And Comrade Solomon had said that structure is about the people. That means the people, the appointees, the people who are serving under the cabinet, and that Fubara almost inherited close to 90-something% of all the people who were under Wike's cabinet before. So, but Rivers State is not the only state that has done that. In Akwa Ibom, where there seems to be a lot of peace, Pastor Governor Umweno also is running the administration with close to 90-something% of the commissioners and the political structure that were there. But the case seems to be completely different. So, where do we now see these glaring differences? I don't know whether my comrade has rejoined. If you have rejoined, if you can hear me, please let me hear from you. Other than that, we'll go on a short break. We were overdue for a break 5 minutes ago. Let's quickly go on a very short break. We'll be right back. This is Political Spectrum. Stay tuned. Join us again.
For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news from the world. Watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Welcome back, and many apologies for that glitch in the network. All right, we have Comrade Solomon Lenu back with us virtually from Port Harcourt. Let's move on. You've intelligently analyzed what the structure is. It has existed before Wike. It will continue to exist. And a lot of people have also accused Wike of destroying Rotimi Amechi's structure, and also accused Rotimi also of having issues with Dr. Peter Odili. So it seems to be a long chain of concentric circles and happenings and events. But let me quickly move to the next pattern of question, another one that he complained about. He is an ingrate. That's a statement credited to Wike. He's an ingrate, and only ingrates will support him. Now, will it not be too early to say Sim Fubara is an ingrate? Okay, let's even leave it whether it's too early or it's not early. The few things he has done, just like you have analyzed, does that show that he's ungrateful?
Let me paint a picture here. You know, one of the problems that we have in this country today is misinformation and disinformation. As it stands today, you know, and with no prejudice, you know, to the media, our media has not lived up to what they were supposed to be, and understandably so, because of poor funding and all of that. So whoever brings the bag of the money, you know, controls the narrative, and then people are not, you know, getting the true stories of what is happening around their environment. The media
I know you are being general. I know you are being general, but here we're professionals. Most times we throw up the opinions. We throw up the opinions, and we allow you comment, and then the viewers be the judge. That has always been our procedures here. Yeah. We always allow members of the public to be the judge, but you can go on.
Yeah. If we want to talk about who has been ungrateful and who is an ingrate and all of that, I think the person of Nyesom Wike should not be the one to speak about such, you know, subject matter ever. Because if we are in a society where the populace are conscious, he will be lynched, he will be embarrassed whenever he makes such statement, because anything that has to do with gratefulness is not closer or near to Wike. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you instances. Nyesom Wike was brought to limelight by Rotimi Amechi because they were friends. Rotimi Amechi helped him to be a council chairman. And after the first tenure, Sir Dr. Peter Odili was not comfortable with the complaints that was coming from Obiakwa local government area where he was a chairman, because of his attitude and the way they were bullying people, taxing the people, strangers, and molesting people and all of those things at the time. And Peter Odili said, enough. I will not allow this man go again. It was the same Rotimi Amechi that mobilized people, went to beg Peter Odili to give him a second chance. That was how he became the chairman for 2 tenures.
Obiakwa local government, we can recall.
Yes. Now, of course, because of, you know, maybe their friendship and all of that, when Amechi had his issue, Wike together with Magnus Abe helped him, and then he recovered his mandate and all of that. And Rotimi Amechi rewarded him handsomely and made him the chief of staff. Of course, the same excesses crept up again, and by the second tenure of Rotimi Amechi, he was moved to Abuja. But never for one day would you hear Nyesom Wike speaking, make reference to Amechi as someone who brought him to limelight. Is that gratefulness or ungratefulness? That's one. Secondly,
a lot of people will say that is pride.
We also saw how Patience Jonathan struggled to impose Wike on the people of Rivers State, even after his kinsman, Rotimi Amechi, finished his 8 years in a multi-ethnic and multicultural state, a thing that is not supposed to be. The woman insisted, rallied support, and did everything to make him the governor. What is the case today? Now, let me even come to Sim Fubara. Many people do not know because Nyesom Wike will not mention it. That in 2014, when he was running his election as a junior minister, he floated a group called GDI, which they used to run the campaign. And this same Sim Fubara, who he is claiming is an ingrate today, was the person that provided almost 50% of the funding of the campaigns that was done by GDI. This is one side of the story that nobody has ever said. And Sim Fubara will not say it because it's not the talking type. It does not end there. Sim Fubara went through the highest humiliation for 8 good years. He never stepped out of Rivers State because of fear of being arrested by the EFCC. They called him all sorts of unprintable names, labeled him, maligned him, all because of this man. And the man stood his ground, stood firm, and supported the government until the end. What Nyesom Wike did for Fubara was just to return the favor that Fubara had done for him all the years. So, who is the person who is ungrateful here? That you assisted me to be a governor. Had there ever been anybody in the history of our democracy that became a governor on his own without the assistance of 1 or 2 persons? We operate a partisan government here. Of course, there are political hierarchies and management and all of those things, machineries that must be set in motion. That was what Fubara benefited from.
Interesting.
It is nothing extraordinary. So, if that had been the case, should this man now carry the vault of Rivers State Treasury to go and domicile in your house like he did for the last 5 months before he said enough is enough?
But Wike has not said that he has completely denied it. That people who are thinking that it's because he's putting pressure on him because of money, and that such a thing has never existed and does not exist. You know, he talked about how well placed he is and all the opportunities at his beck and call. So I think that last statement, I don't know, it's your word against his. But I'd like to quickly ask another question. I'll probably drag you into the arena. Just let's step back a little. When the whole imbroglio started, and we heard that the State House of Assembly was attacked, was it a bomb or a fire? And then the second question in that sequence is, was it Fubara's team or Fubara's men that was responsible for that destruction, or was it Wike? And why? As we close, because we barely have about 3 minutes left.
Well, I think I'm not in the better position to tell you if it was Fubara's people or maybe Wike's people. Of course, these people are politicians. And if you want to, if I had to even throw myself in the ring, I think I'll tell you it is also the Wike's people that, that carried out the arson on the assembly just to blame it on Fubara. Because right now, as we speak, one of the most difficult things that is happening to the Wike's camp is that Rivers people has been asking, you plotted an impeachment move on the governor who had done nothing. Until today, they've not been able to come up with one, just even the slightest allegation to say this is what this man had done that will warrant us to want to impeach him. So in a situation like that, of course, these are desperate people. They will do whatsoever to label him bad so that they will have a little something to lay onto. But I can tell you that up to this moment, they've not been able to do that because Rivers people are wiser. Rivers people, have come to rally around the governor to say, look, with all of this thing that the minister has done and has been doing, we know that he's capable of doing anything. And then we believe that it was not you. You are not responsible for what happened at the assembly. In fact, when the governor went there to go and ascertain what happened there, you saw how the police maltreated and manhandled him. A thing that has never been done to any governor before in this country.
There is video evidence. That's very correct. There's video evidence. So finally,
it was
okay, fine.
Because going by the antecedents of the people who are up against him, we know that they are capable of doing anything.
Thank you for that response.
The one who did it. If I must say.
Thank you for that response. Finally, the deputy governor of the state. I don't know whether it's because we are outside of the state, but we barely hear anything from the deputy governor of the state. if the impeachment had gone on, would it have been, anyway, by constitution, ideally the deputy governor should move in as acting, but was that the plan? Are you privy to that information? If they had succeeded in impeaching Fubara,
well, yes.
who would have been the governor, and what has the deputy governor said since the imbroglio? Yeah, Comrade Solomon, can you hear me?
Answer it. To tell you how, how devilish these people are, while they were plotting to remove Fubara through impeachment, they were at the same time forcing the deputy governor to sign her resignation so that the speaker, who is the weakest boy, will take over the governance of Rivers State as an interim
That's
government.
Amewule.
You understand?
Or
And
is it
to
a
even
he?
tell you how dangerous, it is, if Amewule, if Wike had succeeded in removing Fubara and the deputy, Amewule now would have been the third successive governor from Ikwere extraction in a multi-ethnic state such as Rivers State to be in that place. And then you know that when you do these kind of things, you are only preparing the state for anarchy. And that's why we are saying that, look, we don't have any other place that we can call our own apart from this state. Therefore, whatever we have to do, we have to live and let live. We must have to carry on in such a way that our actions does not destroy the state. Rivers State is a multi-dynamic state, multi-ethnic state, different tribes, different languages. It's not like the southeast or southwest or even in the north where you have a common language and all of that. Our diversity are enormous. Therefore, whatever we have to do, there has to be some level of understanding. There has to be some level of give and take. Greed must not be allowed to supersede statesmanship, as we are seeing in the case, of the FCT minister today. And I don't know where he got that from, because in time past, he has been a serious advocate against godfatherism, against totalitarianism, against oligarchy. But we are surprised that the same person is coming today doing everything that he can, to establish the same thing here in Rivers State, in a state that it is clear, and every analyst will tell you that it is the most difficult state where you can ever do such a thing and it will succeed in Nigeria, because the peculiarity of Rivers State and our diversity is second to none in any part of this country.
All right. Thank you so much, Comrade Solomon Lenu. We've been speaking to Comrade Solomon Lenu, the PRO, Rivers State Civil Society Organizations. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. And we hope that next time when we call you, you'll find time to join us. And thank you for your brilliant perspective on the issue. You have created a better understanding of the situations on ground. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. All right, that's about all that we can take for today. This marks the end of today's edition. Hopefully, on the next edition, we are going to bring some other exciting developments. Remember, the conversation of deepening democracy and nation building is never exhausted. Continue to engage us on all our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. I remain yours sincerely, Onwese Ekinoma Olusegun, signing out and saying have a great day. See you on the next edition.